I want to show you something. You see this tomato plant? It's very small. It does have a couple of blossoms right there, but it might be 2 hands tall from wrist to palm. And then there's that one. It might be a half a hand tall. And then there is 2 more right there. Yeah, sorry about that. Right there and right there. Both barely growing. Those were growing in that pot over there through the fence. And I transplanted them in my raised bed garden. This here is not. But there's the little tomatoes, not the flower plants, just the tomato plants. They grew up all by themselves. And this here pot on the end, right here. They were in that pot from last year, and they were one of the little tomatoes that fell into this pot. Here we have little cherry tomatoes growing on there. Let's see, you see that? You see them? This plant is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, about 4 hands tall. This bush here I dumped in there, I put it in there. It was growing in a different pot. And here's another one. I didn't move these because they weren't in the way of this plant here that I threw in the pot. I don't like these. I'm getting rid of them. Anyways, the currant bush was planted in here, and then these 2 came up later than those. Those actually were in the middle of the pot, and I moved them over there. These are doing better and are more healthy than those. The dirt in both of these, the planter bed and this pot, is basically the same thing. And these are growing better. So, do we assume that transplanting and growing things in little pots is better, or just burying tomatoes in the dirt and let happen what happens? Most everybody will tell you, oh, you got to start in a pot and this and that. But I've always ended up with better tomatoes that grew from tomatoes I grew the year before when I left the ground alone. Or even buried some of the tomatoes at the end of the season that were red and wrinkling up or whatever. And then the following year they come up, and this is the kind of stuff I get. I think we garden wrong in some respects. Because what if we planted in the fall right before it got winter, put our seeds in the ground, and then when it rains in the spring and the snow's all melted and gone away and the earth warms, the plants know to come up. I've had volunteer tomato plants, squashes, all kinds of things just come up when I did nothing. So, you decide. I just thought I'd share that because I find it very interesting, and maybe some of you will too. Maybe some of you have experienced the same. Anyways, have a wonderful day and enjoy happy little tomato plants and the yummy tomatoes whenever they ripen up. Enjoy.